Hello everyone. Today I'm going to give you 4 narcissism red flags that I personally missed. Over the course of the past few years and trying to make sense of how I came to be in a relationship that's caused me such pain and emotional distress, I began going back in time 20 plus years ago and examining exactly what was taking place in those early stages of our relationship. I wanted to see if there were patterns of behavior that I overlooked and even analyze what these behaviors were. What I found was quite alarming to me. There were many red flags that I simply missed. I recently started going back through my journal entries from the first few years that we were together, and what I read, it made me really angry. I mean, it really did. I was angry at myself, honestly, but more than anything, I was saddened, just deeply saddened by what I was reading. There were narcissism indicators, unbeknownst to me at the time, that I detailed throughout pages and pages of journaling. When I came across these journal entries years ago, I had ripped out many pages and threw them away. I was so embarrassed by what I had written, basically by the treatment that I had been subjecting myself to, that I feared if my children ever got hold of my writings, they would think that their dad was a monster. I now realize that me ripping out those pages and throwing them away was the codependent in me, always considering how he may be affected rather than expressing my own truth, no matter how painful or in what light it places him in. So let's just get to those red flags that I missed. So what are red flags? Red flags are warnings or indicators that there may be problems ahead. So here are the 4 red flags that I missed. Number 1, he was just too perfect. We met in college. I was in my first year and he was in his 6th year. He wore expensive clothes. He was always well put together. He was such a gentleman. Everyone seemed to love him. Other students, professors, cafeteria staff, campus police, you name it. He was this larger than life figure who was good looking, funny, smart, and seemingly he could get anything he wanted. He could afford to have his own place off campus. He had a nice car that he let me drive within the first weeks of being with him. He took me to nice restaurants. I thought to myself, I really hit the jackpot. I thought to myself, how is it that this guy isn't already in a relationship? I did, however, say to myself once or twice that he's just too good to be true. But that was a fleeting thought. He put me on a pedestal right away. He often praised me and complimented me. He told me how beautiful I was, how smart I was, and how mature I was for my age in comparison to other young ladies that he had dated. And with him being 25, I just thought I was so special to be able to gain the attention and affection of a guy that age when I was only 18. And when you're young, that age gap, although it's only 6 years, is pretty significant. Here I was, straight out of high school, no life experience, and I found what I thought was the best I was ever going to get. I just thought it couldn't get any better than this. He's such a great catch, and who did he choose to be with? He chose to be with me. Number 2, he was self-centered and quite arrogant. He talked about himself all the time. From the first night we were together, he couldn't stop talking about himself. I vividly recall asking myself, why is he telling me all of this? And of course, with my introverted nature, I was the perfect match for him. I was a great listener. I didn't usually interrupt him, but when I did try to talk about myself a bit, he didn't ask me follow-up questions and didn't really care for me to elaborate on whatever I was saying. He was quite happy with me continuing to listen intently to his every word, and I would just let him go on and on about himself. Number 3, he was very inconsiderate. There were times when he was supposed to pick me up from campus, he wouldn't show up. Or if he did show up, he would show up hours later. He wouldn't even call. There were times when he would leave me at his apartment alone until the next day while he did whatever. He was usually late to class and late to work, and he was often unapologetic about these behaviors. One of his favorite phrases was, "You'll get over it." What I didn't realize was that this lack of communication or lack of consideration, we'll get into communication in another video, was actually a lack of empathy. Number 4, and this is a huge one, probably one of the biggest red flags: sex on the first date. Narcissists are known for moving very fast in relationships, and a healthy relationship, progresses through stages. You have the initial attraction, the getting to know each other, your likes, your dislikes, your values, beliefs. You have the courtship, and then you have the intimacy much later. For us, we went straight to intimacy without any connection with one another. I didn't know my husband's last name even. I didn't know anything about his upbringing and background. We had only shared a class together. We had a few brief conversations in passing, had lunch together a few times in the cafeteria, but that was all. That was all. I knew he was popular. I knew he was well known. And I did have a strong attraction to him. I was really drawn in by his charm and sense of humor. I was thinking, wow, this popular guy likes me, like I said earlier. And because of my lack of self-awareness, again, I was only 18, and the fact that I had low self-esteem and lack of boundaries, I got sucked in right away. Well, these are the red flags that I missed, and they are huge. They're just huge, and they should have sent me running in the opposite direction. Bottom line, I didn't give him time to show me who he really was. Well, I want to know, what are some of the red flags that you may have missed? If you reflect on it, you can look back on some of the things that you just kind of glossed over and overlooked. Leave me some comments about that. I would like to know. Thank you for listening. Until the next video, because there will be more.